a friendly amendment.
Okay. Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps this question is best directed to Senator Latz. With the inclusion of this particular amendment, in the past, I remember oftentimes when subjects involve animal cruelty or different criminal sanctions, oftentimes it would go to the Committee on Agriculture. Is that, in the event that this amendment is passed, is that the intention of the committee chair to direct it toward the Ag Committee?
Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, Senator Limmer, no, it's not. I've not been made aware of any reason the Ag Committee would seek jurisdiction, as this is not changing any of the animal cruelty statutes themselves. It is proposing to change 624.712, which is the definition of crimes of violence, which is squarely within this committee's jurisdiction.
All right, thank you.
And I would note that also this would be only felony violations of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal, Chapter 343.
Are there any other questions? Senator Limmer.
Thank you. What is the fiscal implication, Senator Latz?
Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, Senator Limmer, I'm not aware of any fiscal implications. Perhaps either the amendments author, Senator Westland, or Chris Turner from Fiscal would have more information.
My understanding is
Senator
that,
Westland.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. You'd think I'd never done this before. My understanding is that it was a pretty de minimis, like maybe half a bed or $6,000, something in that neighborhood, so something that I think could be absorbed by the department.
Mr. Turner.
Madam Chair and members, that's correct. It's a fraction of a bed, and that's flat going out. So it would dollarize into like $5,000 a year.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Senator Latz views this as a friendly amendment. So Senator Westland moves the A3 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the amendment is adopted. And next we'll do the A4. Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The A4 amendment is the state fire marshal's bill that repeals no longer needed statutes that predate the state's fire code. I would offer the A4 amendment.
And Senator Latz, assuming you view this
Madam
as
Chair,
friendly.
I treat this as a friendly amendment.
Wonderful. Any discussion? Senator Limmer.
Could we have an explanation of what the A4 is about?
I believe Senator Seeberger just walked us through that. Would you like to offer an explanation again, Senator Seeberger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What the A4 does is it repeals, it's a state fire marshal's bill, so it comes to us from the state fire marshal, and it repeals no longer needed statutes that predate the state's fire code. I believe some of these date back from the early 1900s, 1910, 1911, that are no longer relevant, no longer needed, and that's what the amendment is.
Yeah.
It was also Senate File 1578, if that helps for context. Okay. All right, seeing no other discussion, Senator Seeberger moved the A4 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion prevails and the A4 amendment is adopted. Senator Seeberger, you also have the A6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would offer the A6 amendment. This amendment is a technical fix to the community supervision funding formula adjustment, and it simply adds the word juvenile on page 73, line 16, to ensure that the funding formula reaches the correct population. At this time, I would offer the A6.
Senator Latz?
Madam Chair, I view this as a friendly amendment.
Okay. Any discussion around the A6? All right, seeing none, Senator Seeberger moves the A6 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A6 amendment is adopted. So I'm going to have Senator Seeberger offer the A7 amendment, but Senator Latz, if you could explain that for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I offer the A7 amendment.
Thank you. Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, this incorporates a bill that we heard in committee relating to access that automobile accident victims would have to the investigative recordings that were made in the course of the law enforcement investigation, or other recordings that would be related to that accident. The testimony was that this is information that typically would be provided in the context of a lawsuit and a discovery motion. It's data, evidence that a claimant would be entitled to. The problem, however, has been that it makes it exceedingly difficult to have pre-lawsuit attempts to resolve the claims if the claimants can't get access to this recorded information. So the A7 amendment would require that access and put some guardrails around its accessibility and use as well.
Thank you, Senator Latz. Are there any questions? All right, so Senator Seeberger moves the A7 amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion prevails and the A7 amendment is adopted. We'll move to the A8 amendment. Senator Pappas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a bill that we heard, and I'd move the A8 amendment. It's a foreclosure bill.
Senator Pappas, that was Senate File 1962. Okay, no changes?
No.
All right. Any questions?
I don't think so.
And Senator Latz, you view that as friendly?
Madam Chair, I view this as friendly.
Okay. All right, Senator Pappas moves the A8 amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A8 amendment is adopted. And we are
11.
handing out the A9 amendment. I believe it actually is in your packets, but just let me know if you
Oh, I did see it. It's at the bottom.
can locate it.
The last one.
Okay, and Senator Westland, this is your amendment if you want to explain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's actually Senator Dibble's amendment, but he is otherwise occupied. This has to do with the guardianship bill that was presented by Senator Dibble previously. I do have someone who can offer some information about this and the details that would probably be helpful.
Susie Scheller, if you want to come forward. Just begin by introducing yourself to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Suzanne Scheller, and this is an amendment to formerly known as Senate File 1920 related to guardianship, the emergency guardianship process and guardianship visitation. This amendment comes to you after conversations with stakeholders, and in general, what the amendment is doing is increasing and strengthening language around these concepts, but stopping short of possible additional court involvement. So we believe it's a reasonable proposal coming to this committee related to visitation. And I'll just explain a bit. As to visitation, the language expands the notice requirements to the court and the affected persons if there is any visitation restrictions by a guardian to the person subject to guardianship. It also adds language to introduce less restrictive alternatives to restrictions on visitation. And it also provides additional language to ensure that the guardian is reporting to the court on those limitations. That's as to visitation. As to the emergency guardianship appointment, it's adding or keeping that interested persons, if known, should be notified. But notably, it's changing the language in what formerly was a rebuttable presumption language about the fact that if the mere fact a person is a resident of a facility or a patient in a hospital is insufficient in and of itself to meet the threshold of an emergency guardianship. So I'm happy to answer further questions. This is seen as after stakeholder input. Thank you.
Senator Westland?
Madam Chair, and my understanding is this is, all the stakeholders have been involved in this amendment. Is there basically agreement amongst interested parties?
We
Michelle-
have met, excuse me, Madam Chair, Senator Westland. We have met with stakeholders on this. I think anytime you use the word all, that's a little cautious.
Yep.
But we have met with them and presented this language and have had a positive response to that.
Okay. Senator Howe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think there might have been a drafting error somewhere on the amendment, or if you look at line 1.3 of the amendment, it says on page 189, line 15, reinstate the stricken language. But if you go to the bill or the amendment, there is no stricken language on line 15.
Ms. Primo?
Madam Chair and members, it's reinstating the stricken comma. It's at the very, very end of that line, on line 15.
That's so funny.
Senator Howe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as Ms. Primo has pointed out now, my eyes aren't quite what they used to be.
I wouldn't have seen that either. It's a stricken comma.
I am impressed by that catch.
She could have said.
Any
reinstate the stricken
questions for Ms. Scheller? Okay. And Senator Latz?
I view this as friendly, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Senator Westland moves the A9 amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails, and the A9 amendment is adopted. Okay. We're going to move to the A12 amendment. Senator Clark.
Thank you, Chair. I move the A12 amendment. The A12 amendment is removing Senate File 1626, the Department of Corrections local licensing changes from the bill. Department of Corrections is continuing to work with stakeholders on agreeable language that we will bring back next session. So this is removing Senate File 1626 from the overall package.
Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, I view this as friendly.
Thank you. And any questions, members? All right. Seeing none, Senator Clark moves the A12 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A12 amendment is adopted. All right. Senator Seeberger, would you move the A16 amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move the A16 amendment.
Thank you. And Senator Latz for an explanation.
Madam Chair and members, you recall there was a proposal before us, ultimately consolidated under Senator Gustafson's authorship, that addressed fleeing in a motor vehicle. And there apparently is not consensus among the stakeholders on that, and it's been Senator Gustafson's desire not to move forward with the whole package this year. However, there is one provision which I think ought to continue forward, and that is relating to the use of a mobile tracking device on a fleeing motor vehicle, and would authorize law enforcement to use such a device. So that's what the A16 does, and I'd encourage its support.
All right, and just as a reminder, this is just a portion from Senate File 191. Any questions? All right, seeing none, Senator Seeberger moves the A16 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A16 amendment is adopted. Oh, again, Senator Seeberger, the A18.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The A18 amendment includes some language that has been agreed upon between certain members of the industry and the BCA as it relates to my bill banning childlike sex dolls and AI child sexual abuse material. I would offer the A18 amendment.
And Senator Seeberger, that was, your bill was Senate File 1577.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. Are there questions about this amendment? And Senator Latz?
I view this as friendly, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, Senator Seeberger moves the A18 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A18 amendment is adopted. Okay. Senator Seeberger, since I keep calling on you, would you move the A19 amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the A19 amendment.
Thank you. And Senator Latz for an explanation.
Well, let me take a look, Madam Chair. The amendment itself doesn't give much of a clue.
Senator Latz, this is regarding the administrative percentage
there we
to
go.
agencies for grants?
Yes,
Does that
thank
ring
you,
a bell?
Madam.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I opened up the A1 amendment to find the reference point to the section that's being deleted. Members, we have some language relating to grant contracts and program administrative costs that specify the amount that the administering department may retain of the total grant amount for administrative costs. It specifies up to 5% for non-competitive grants and up to 10% for competitively awarded grants. We have been asked not to specify percentages in our grant administration language. And so I understand that there's going to be a broader, more generally applicable bill traveling at a different location for dealing with these questions. So the goal is to remove, not only from us, but to remove similar language from, I believe, all of the omnibus bills that will be coming forward, so it can be dealt with in one separate bill with a blanket approach. So that's why I moved to delete Section 5 on page 23.
Thank you for the explanation, Senator Latz. Any questions, members? All right. Seeing none, Senator Seeberger moves the A19 amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion prevails and the A19 amendment is adopted. We're going to move to the A22. Senator Anderson.
22, the others.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The A22 amendment is reflexive of the bill that we heard in committee, Senate File 631, and it deals with my constituent whose son went missing on the St. John's University campus. And the language that was amended in committee is the same language now we have before us to help in others who might have missing individuals or family members to be able to get information regarding their lost loved ones. So I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Senator Latz?
Madam Chair, I consider this to be a friendly amendment.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions, members? All right. Senator Anderson moves the A22 amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion prevails and the A22 amendment is adopted. Okay. Senator Seeberger, would you move the A23 amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the A23.
Thank you. And this is relating to the Department of Corrections. Senator Latz. And we can call them up if that's helpful, Senator Latz, or if you want to explain the A23.
Yeah, this was not originally my provision. Perhaps the department could explain it.
Okay.
We did hear that, I think this was Senator Aaron Mayquade's.
No,
Bill.
that's a different one.
This is a separate one. Different one. Okay. I'll let the department explain it.
All right.
Sure.
Commissioner Schnell.
Madam Chair, Paul Schnell, Commissioner at the Department of Corrections. This is really largely technical fixes that address how funding flows, in particular for the counties that the DOC serves. In addition, it addresses issues related to using a three-year period of time for average total for the probation population for purposes of application of the formula, which then does not have the same impacts to counties where there is shifts. It allows that to be handled more broadly. That's largely what this addresses in terms of how the billings take place for probation services provided by the Department of Corrections in non-CCA counties.
Thank you. Any questions, members?
Madam Chair.
Senator Latz.
Thank you. I had pulled the wrong amendment in front of me when I made reference to Senator Mayquade. So I have the A23 in front of me. It's the Department of Corrections bill, and I treat this as friendly.
All right. Thank you, Senator Latz. I'm not seeing any questions. So Senator Seeberger moved the A23 amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion prevails and the A23 amendment is adopted.
Madam Chair,
Senator Latz.
I just noticed what might be a typo on the A23 on line 3.4. Checking my glasses. So I'll make
Okay.
the Senator Howe mistake. But I believe the word applicable, or applicable should be applicable.
Oh, good. How did you find that?
So that might just be a technical correction staff can make without a formal amendment. Or maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, you are right, Senator Latz. It's a technical correction that we can instruct council to make. All right. I've got a number of amendments, so I'm going to hand the gavel to Senator Seeberger. I will begin with the A11 amendment.
All right, Senator Verbaeten, to your A20 amendment. Oh, A11 amendment, sorry, A11 amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The A11 amendment is the language from Senate File 1909. This is the bill that we heard a few weeks ago, giving county attorneys subpoena power for a number of documents regarding wage theft investigations. And we did make some changes in committee. Those are all reflected in the A11 amendment.
Thank you, Senator Verbaeten. Chair Latz, any thoughts on the A11?
Madam Chair, I treat this as friendly.
All right, any questions or comments from members of the committee on the A11? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A11 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries, the amendment is adopted. Moving to the A20, Senator Verbaeten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is we heard the bill Senate File 1905 also a few weeks ago. There are a few changes here that I just want to walk folks through. What we discovered is that based on how it was written, it was possible that a person who possesses in a school or other zone could be charged under under 152.023 subdivision 2A 4-6 if that drug was dissolved in water. So worked with council to rewrite that language. The bill originally introduced, supported by MCAA, ran this new language past them. They also are okay with that. We had also heard in testimony about a specific issue, essentially the decriminalization bill that was passed in 2023. The intention was to ensure that folks are not facing penalties for drug paraphernalia and the residual amounts. And so this is really trying to close that loophole. There is a section just making sure that it is retroactive to August 1st, 2023. So those are the changes.
Thank you, Senator Umer Verbatim. Chair Latz, any thoughts on the 820 amendment?
Madam Chair, I treat this as friendly.
All right. Any questions or comments from members of the committee on the 820? Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Latz, do you know if the county attorneys are in favor of this concept?
Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, Senator Limmer, I do not, but perhaps Senator Uma Verbetten knows.
Senator Umer Verbatim.
Thank you. As I stated in my opening remarks, yes, there was, they had voted in support of the Senate File 1905 language, and then when we discovered the additional issue, sent that language over to them, and they also have no concerns.
Thank you.
Senator Limmer. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee on the 820? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 820 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries and the amendment is adopted. All right, Senator Uma Verbatim, the 821.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we heard Senator McQuaid's AI notification bill in this committee, and the bill was then heard in Commerce, which included the subdivision 6 language that's now in this amendment. And then I believe there was a change to, I don't know if that's addressed in here, another amendment, but oh, thank you. There is a change to the amount available for grant administration on line 216, so to 5%. And then, you know, we had a pretty robust conversation in committee about making sure that any of those penalties that were recovered could go towards crime victim services.
Chair Latz, any thoughts on the A21?
Madam Chair, with apologies to the DOC for conflating their technical amendment with the notification amendment, I do treat this as a friendly amendment as well.
Any thoughts or questions from members of the committee? Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can someone explain the immunity part in line 2.21 to 2.23? Is that new?
Senator Uma Verbatim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was after the bill was heard here, it went to Commerce Committee, and that's where that language was added, but perhaps council can give a more in-depth explanation of the subdivision.
Ms. Primo?
Madam Chair and members, yes, this was an amendment added on in Commerce, and then the bill was laid over, so the current engrossment doesn't reflect it. And I believe it was added on at the request of a potential stakeholder. I'm not sure about the rest of the intent related to that.
Senator Kroon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just flagged it because I didn't recognize it, but I think Section 230 would be the immunity for the broadband carriers and that sort of thing, so I think it's fine. Thanks.
I see Judy Cook in the back. Maybe she can offer some information.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senator Kroon, yes, this would ensure that we are going after the perpetrators and who are the websites that are actually allowing the notification and not the platforms where, so like if you got the photo from Facebook or something, or a platform, not to use a specific one.
Senator Kroon?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, this is just a way of drafting it where we're relying on federal law, which could change, but I have no issues with it. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 821 amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the amendment is adopted. Next, we go to the 825. Whose is that? Senator Umer Verbatim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We heard Senate File 206 in committee, and this is just clarifying the effective dates.
Senator Latz, any thoughts on the 825?
Madam Chair, I treat this as friendly.
Any comments or questions from members of the committee on the 825? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 825 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries and the amendment is adopted. Senator Latz, did you have an oral amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to, I'll ask Ms. Primo to explain this, but I move to delete the language of Senate File 1409.
Ms. Primo.
Madam Chair and members, I believe the amendment would be page 187, delete section 10. And this deletes a provision that was in Senate File 1409, that was Senator Mann's bill on marriage, civil marriage provisions. But this section increases the fee that's paid to the local governments for certain marriage records and increases the fee to $20 per request. And so this amendment deletes the entirety of that section. Again, it's page 187, delete section 10.
Any questions or comments from members of the committee on the proposed oral amendment? Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What would be the, for the $20 per copy increase, where would that money be directed to?
Senator Latz.
Madam Chair, I'd ask Ms. Primo to explain the impact. Or Mr. Turner.
Ms. Primo.
Madam Chair and members, this fee would be paid to the local registrar, so the county that issues these records.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Latz oral amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the amendment is adopted. All right, that's everything we have in our packets. Are there any other amendments? All right, seeing none. Senator Latz, do you have any closing comments?
Madam Chair, the The assembled bill now before us reflects the work of the Judiciary Committee on all of us together on many policy proposals that came before us this legislative session. I deeply appreciate the attention, the preparation, and the scrutiny that all the members of this committee put in on the individual bills as they came before us, and on this proposal that's in front of us now as a whole. So I ask for your support.
We're just going to lay it over, as he mentioned in our first meeting, this is going to go into our finance meeting on Friday. So
Okay.
amendments will be incorporated, as well as any technical changes, and that will be at 14:17.
All right, thank you, Senator Latz. The intention here is to lay Senate File 1098 as amended over to be incorporated into Senate File 1417 on Friday. Okay. All right, any announcements or?
Next time is Friday.
All right, our next hearing will be Friday, April 11th at 9 a.m. in Minnesota State Senate Building 1200. There being no further business before the committee, we are adjourned.